Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really fascinating court case out of India that gets right to the heart of a tricky question about identity. What happens when what you believe about yourself doesn't line up with the official paperwork?
It really all comes down to this one question. Can you actually be officially recognized as having no religion? I mean, can you get a government document that says just that? It seems like it should be simple, right? Well, one man's journey to do exactly that revealed a pretty complex legal and philosophical puzzle.
So let's get into what he was asking for. This wasn't just some personal statement he was making. No, he wanted an official government document to certify his lack of religious identity. What he was after is called a No-Caste, No-Religion certificate. You can think of it as an official declaration of non-affiliation. It's a piece of paper stamped by the government that basically says, this person doesn't subscribe to any particular faith or social hierarchy. The man at the center of all this was named Ramasamy. He just wanted to formally define his own identity or, his lack of a religious one. But there was a really important detail mentioned in the court records that ended up being the linchpin for the entire case. His parents are Hindu. So he puts in his request to the local authorities, and almost immediately, he hits a major roadblock. On July 9, 2025, the local Tahsildar, that's a type of local official, turned him down flat. And the reason? It was pure bureaucracy. They basically said, sorry, there's no government order or rule in the books that lets us issue this kind of certificate. It was a classic procedural dead end. But Ramasamy wasn't going to take no for an answer. He challenged that rejection and took his case all the way to the Madras High Court. And this is where the whole thing gets boiled down to one single pivotal question. The case gets in front of Justice Krishnan Ramasamy, who totally cuts through all the noise and zeroes in on the one question that would decide everything. The judge asked him a very direct question, and the answer changed everything. He said, look, your parents are Hindu, which means by default you're considered Hindu. So, have you ever formally relinquished that religion? And the petitioner's answer was no. And boom, that one little word, no, laid the whole problem bare. You see the dilemma here? On paper, his official status was Hindu, but what he wanted was a certificate saying no religion. He was asking for the second thing without ever formally getting rid of the first. So, with that fundamental conflict out in the open, the court was ready to make its decision. On February 17, 2026, the High Court handed down its decision, and it was crystal clear, getting right to the heart of that paradox in the petitioner's request. The court dismissed his petition. The ruling was simple. If you want a no-religion certificate, you first have to formally leave the religion you already belong to, and you have to do it as per the Hindu rites. In other words, according to the customs of that faith. Since he hadn't filed any proof that he'd done that first step, his request was basically a non-starter. But hold on, the story doesn't just end there with a case closed stamp. Because the court, while it did reject his petition, actually gave him a kind of roadmap for how he could move forward. The court's logic was pretty much, hey, you just did this in the wrong order. So they laid out a clear three-step process for him. Step 1, formally leave your religion according to its own rules. Step 2, get official proof that you've done that. And Step 3, now take that proof and go reapply for your certificate. The door wasn't slammed shut. He just had to go through it in the right sequence. And that leads us to the final, really fascinating question this whole case leaves us chewing on. The court said he had to leave as per the Hindu rites, which makes you wonder, if a person wants to have no religion at all, who gets to define the rules for their exit? Does the very religion they're trying to leave get to set the terms? It's a real paradox, sitting right at the intersection of personal identity and official rules.